music, it's an outlet.
Yes. I do think you can have faith and not make Christian music.
What you guys don't realise, this is actually about God.
That changed my whole entire perspective.
You gotta start with you.
Lay your gift at the altar.
We use words, you love words, we all love words.
That's mercy in a way.
God is the reason why I've had success in my career.
If you didn't know God, I wouldn't be here.
That's how you teach the kids.
So we're here today, we're gonna have a conversation about music and faith and how they intersect. The question that I wanna ask is, when you look at faith and some of the teachings of faith, in terms of, let's say, even a Christian perspective of peace, how do we reconcile that with the culture we are from, which is competition, and even when you push it further, war and actual beef in that sort of way, whether it be lyrically, etc. And I wanna pose that question first to you, Double. How do you reconcile faith teachings in terms of peace and being a person of peace with the reality of what it is when you're MCing and what it is as an MC to stand and be able to fight for your place in the scene?
I think it's more of a sport, how it feels for me from what I come to. So that turning a cheek thing is always involved more time in the sport of the real sport of clashing. It's not that regular that two artists do stuff to each other and beat each other up. It always ends up being the sport in the end, you know? I've never really clashed or felt that I'm in this thing where I need to do better than someone else. I always, when I'm on stage and I do my thing, I'm always just trying to do the best for myself.
People sometimes, in my opinion, they take it out of context when they say turn the other cheek. For me, it doesn't mean be a waste man. Separately, people...
That's what I kind of gathered from it.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I'd not be a waste man, but a pushover, innit? Like, when do you stand on 10 toes? Because I feel like you could be nice until you're not. But I used to feel like, basically, I had to just be the bigger man in every situation. And I didn't want to get defensive, because sometimes I feel like if people are saying things, and even if it's not true, if you get defensive, it validates accusations. Do you get me? Yeah. What people are saying, especially if they're trying to get at you. But I realise sometimes you do have to draw the line in the sand and say, this is disrespectful. And there's going to be consequences if you keep pushing that. So I used to feel like turning the other cheek was a bit, like you never stand on 10 toes, but I guess you can turn the other cheek and still have boundaries, I guess.
Yeah, nah.
How do you reconcile turning the other cheek? So Christian teaching of being a peacemaker with the whole thing of fighting for your place in the game.
I don't think like turning the other cheek means that you can't confront the person kind of thing. Because obviously turning the other cheek, people take it literally as that you just turn and look that way. But that's not what it says. Obviously it says if somebody that hits you, you turn them the other cheek and hand them the other cheek. So you're saying you might as well hit the other one because I'm not gonna do anything. Kind of, that's basically what it is. But like, I don't think that means, obviously, quote unquote, just stand there and be a waste man. You can speak, it's your right to actually speak. But that's where people like misunderstand like scripture and the Bible, or people misteach it as well at the same time. Because when I read it, I was thinking, this doesn't mean for me to just walk away and be like, oh, it's fine. Like I say, I didn't like that. In fact, it's even appointed to people in the Bible as Christians to, if you have an oath with your brother, lay your gift at the altar and go and talk to your brother and reconcile it and sort it out. So it doesn't actually tell you turn the other cheek and just walk away from the situation. It actually tells you to speak. Now, once you've spoke and you said your piece, like at this point, it's up to them. And I think at that point, that's where like God kind of gets involved, because I've had situations where I could have responded in a very, very, very dark way. And I feel like a lot of times us coming away from actually retaliating, like let's say it's a fist fight, someone approaching that way, you walking away is more ballsy than you actually responding. And in that space, some people might say, oh, you're a waste man, you didn't do nothing, you're not on nothing. But I'm like, who gets to choose who's on and who's not?
For me, I would say, looking at it, like that teaching even of turn the other cheek is a wider context to that.
100.
Because I look at it and I'm like, okay, the Pharisees would say something to Christ, and he, like, historical context, he wasn't exactly at the highest point in culture back then, but he would call them a brood of snakes to their face, which takes a level of courage. So I even think when I look at like faith and trying to embody my faith within the industry and as a businessman and these things, sometimes I think, what would Jesus do? Not purely in the sense of it means I need to be meek, it means I need to be humble, but also means I need to be brave, I need to be courageous, I need to have the power and strength to defend what is important and what matters. Because I actually think what happens with faith sometimes is people who are cowards spiritualize their cowardice. So then what happens? It becomes I'm passive and I'm probably not going to do anything to confront anyone anyway, and I'm going to spiritualize it and say that's the more holier thing to do.
Do you know
No,
what?
I don't think you're doing that, by the way.
No,
But
no,
I think that's something that's done, and unfortunately, I think like even faith has a bad rap because of it. Because then it's like, if we're moving with a level of assertiveness, it's almost like, nah, you're meant to be a doormat. You're a Christian. You're a Christian.
But that's the thing. And that's the thing where I'm like, I don't agree with you just letting things and letting anything slide because imagine if
Christians are from war.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. And the thing is, being a coward,
it's in you.
Yeah. Being a coward in the Bible, when it lists in the Revelation the type of people that are going to rest in fire for the eternal life.
It says
Cowards.
cowards
It
too.
says
It says cowards?
Oh, nice.
Cowards.
So then at that point, it's like, you can't, like, she said, oh, nice, I love that.
And look what they said, they wanted happen to them, to burn.
Yeah.
Unless it's just a wish, just in a different way, not literally, basically, you know, like karma. You know, if it's karma, don't worry, they'll all burn. Well, the karma one.
So,
What about you, Crystal?
Well, they say all is fair in love and war.
Period.
And there's a thin line between love and hate. And I just feel like competition, retaliation, and war are all very different things that monitor the same space. A competition is just a bunch of people seeing like who can complete the objective the fastest. War is to death. It's me or you in any capacity. It's career ending, it's life ending, it's life threatening. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I don't partake in clashing, none of that. You'll see me on a cypher, but cypher's more friendly, you get what I mean?
That's competition.
'Cause I don't want to be drawn out.
If someone tried to dish you on a tune, would you do one back?
No.
No.
You surrendering to what the other person expects from you, you've already lost the war. I will also say, within that saying that,
That's good.
it's the aspect of this whole turn the other cheek thing. Me sending for someone it wouldn't be in the conventional way. It wouldn't be in a way where I'm just like as you said, wishing death on a man and stuff like that. But being meek and humble within your responses, not everything has to be like till bloodshed. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I feel like that's what it is. And the whole, again, turning the other cheek, it's not always in the aspect of just being an idiot or being a doormat. It's also knowing when to respond. Because you can respond. You can turn the other cheek, but which cheek? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Which way is it? Are you going to go that way? Are you going to go that way?
Maybe it depends on the way it's coming to you.
It's like flipping a coin, heads or tails. Are you going to turn the cheek that's going to make you wild out? Or are you going to turn the cheek that's going to make you calm down? Do you get what I mean?
It's interesting because it's like, I look at it and I think that there are teachings of faith that are incongruent with culture. And I think that's the unpopular reality. I mean, I've clashed. I was on a station, I clashed. I felt like I did well in the clash. I did what I needed to do in the clash.
Yeah.
I've never lost the clash growing up ever in my life.
Never clashed.
But there's an element of, despite the fact that I can make it sound like me turning the other cheek in the realm of hip hop culture
Clashing.
and culture,
That's
because
how I feel.
what I'm saying is that despite the fact that in more recent times I've let it slide, I understand that the culture I'm in is not to let it slide. I'm just speaking in terms of reality.
Of course.
It's not like
That's the truth.
rap and hip hop. Rap and hip hop is not congruent with the culture of peace, humility, meekness in any way, shape, or form. So I would be being dishonest if I was to say that
You wouldn't
it's
say
a W.
Yeah.
No, I'll be fine to say I wouldn't send. What I'm saying is more so, on a faith level, God might be pleased with me if I make the right decision. It doesn't mean the culture I'm in will understand the decision.
There's a line between this whole warring and clashing and just responding to people thing, because you can respond in a different manner. Even if I did a song back, my song don't need to say the same thing that your song said.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? In terms of darkness,
yeah,
and
100%.
I saw a TikTok, the other day that said you have to be very careful giving people back the same energy because you end up mirroring their demons. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So if you're just like, keep the same energy and no, you treat people how you would like to be treated.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, yeah, it's your standards. You lowering your standards to what the other person is doing to you and themselves puts you in the same realm as them. And then now you can't grow to the heights that you need to go to because you've accepted that spirit.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Deep.
But with that in mind, then that means the culture, because again, I'm thinking about it from the point, because I agree with that as a human, because I've had to do that. It's funny, I've had to clash people where they're saying a mad thing and I'm coming with a witty thing and I'm winning, but I'm like, I could go there, but because of my own principles, I haven't. But what I think I understand from all of this is that the culture that we grew up on, of like this thing being a sport, which then goes towards a war, because it's ciphering in sport, but really beyond that, when I was younger, at least, I can say that when I was battling people, it wasn't just I'm battling them. I'm thinking, I can murk you in a rap space and in life. Like, if we're being real, right?
Same.
That's
so,
wild.
yeah, because it was almost like, not only am I better than you technically, you can't try it with me because do you know what I mean? So, but what I'm saying is that then, getting deeper in my faith, you begin to realise that genuinely that culture isn't congruent.
I feel like as well, just knowing that within yourself is the W. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Knowing what you can do and choosing not to do it, it takes more, and there's more strength in a person that chooses to take the path of righteousness within that situation. And I feel like the only thing that makes music feel like a battlefield is because of what happens outside of when you have a microphone in your hand. Like, if I send for you and say something to you and you send back for me, we can still be brethren after.
But
not everyone's like that. That's what takes it from it being a sport to it being war now. And when someone's ego is bruised, sometimes that's all they can see. A bruised ego, and they take it further than what it is just because they need to prove to themselves and to everyone that was in attendance and that witnessed that, and to you, that they're better in some capacity, even if that means a life is lost.
And it can go, it can go there. What's your take on it?
Going off the back of what you were saying, Bliss, when you was like, you feel like you know certain times that you can actually murk a man musically, and even like on a live team, they just can't compare to you. But you know in the same breath, it's not like conducive, that mindset, but you, because basically your point being you could just do it because you can, innit? I think like sometimes I used to have that mindset, like I could just do it because I can. Like when you come from the hood, you're just backwards, innit? I used to have that mindset like, well, I'll beat you up, like you can't chat to me, you can't beat me up, like, do you get me? But that's not the mindset, because then I used to feel like, well, if you can't beat me up, you can't speak to me. That's not true. You should be able to speak to me. Even if I feel like I can take you on physically, and it can be like that in music sometimes. I used to have that mindset like, yeah, anyone can have it because I can, because I'm so confident in my pen. But really and truly, do I have to keep proving myself if I'm really confident in my pen? Because music is subjective. Some people might say someone else is better than you. You might think you're better than them. They might be drawing you out. But is it really necessary? And I'm not gonna lie, I've not been drawn out by someone that's doing more than me, ever. So who is it really worth it for? And we know that everyone likes to root for the underdog. If it's the case, so why am I gonna...
Not always.
Ooh,
but a lot of the time though, I feel like sometimes if you're the smaller artist in a beef, you have less to lose. Because you can take away that person's rep with the right thing or saying the wrong thing. You can take away the other artist's rep. Rap also comes from battle rap. We kind of have that inherently in us. Even when I started, I used to be sending for all the girls I beefed in the ends. I was talking smack. It was never about other female rappers, ever. It was more so like, I had this situation growing up, like bun this other girl, like I was just talking hella crud, and that's how I got out my anger. And I think people thought that because it was so raw and so raw, but then it's kind of like paradox, because you get to a point in rap where you become someone and you have something to lose, and you may still carry that same energy you had from the hood. So people want to test your gangster, but you're not really in a position to actually do things now in real life.
In the same way now, because you have something to lose,
I have something to lose, and also I didn't do all this makeup and hair to everything to go and fight in a real life.
Do you know what I think as well? Also, like, it's knowing the difference too. Do you get what I'm trying to say with what you said, and understanding that music is also it's an outlet.
Yes.
So just because there was a situation with someone, I didn't say your name, but I spoke about it. I'm not sending for you.
Yeah.
It's just my outlet because I need to get it out.
That's another thing.
Do you get what I mean?
True. I agree with that. And I'm in that space now. And another thing I love to say is that if you do me wrong, you can't control who I tell that story to or how I tell that story.
Yes.
You can't. I hate when people are like, you've done me dirty and you're mad I told someone. No, I should tell someone about your bad character. I should warn others. That's the one time when I think that just gets a pass. That's how we survived.
That's mad.
If you done me wrong, I'm going to let someone know that person got bad character. So you know when you buck up on them. But like, just my point being that, I know it's not rap cap anyway, but I still feel like people feel their energy even when you grow and evolve. But that girl that came up, that had nothing, that was just hungry, that wanted to express herself, that was going through things in the end, she still lives inside me. I may not make certain moves now because it doesn't align with where I'm at now, probably spiritually and as an adult, but I still have that fire and that.
There.
Do you get me?
You can reactivate if it was really necessary.
It
can be reactivated.
And it's still my outlet, but. And I guess in regards to beef, I don't want to allow anyone to draw me out, but I will say, like, I'm not afraid to draw the line in the sand if I feel like I'm being disrespected, because me personally, I just feel like for a long time I've played nice and I do it out of the kindness of my heart, but sometimes people get twisted. And if you're a good person as well, you know what that feels like.
I actually think that is turning the other cheek, because I think not turning the other cheek will be me responding to fire with fire. But me simply putting a strong block there.
That's beautiful, the way you put that.
That's
me simply putting a strong block there saying...
That's how you teach the kids.
You see that? That's not coming into my space. That's healthy, and that's mercy in a way. Because I didn't do what I felt like doing.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I mean?
I needed long nails, my clap's not...
Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
I
didn't do what I felt like doing. I felt like, all I've simply done is I might have sent a voice note saying, nah, it's not that.
Like that.
Don't talk to me that again. That's mercy, because what it could have been entirely different. So I think that's what turning the other cheek is. And I also think the issue is, it's like sound bites and whispers. Like when we hear like religious sayings, often you hear the saying without the context. So when people hear about turning the other cheek, they don't realise that it was poetic language. It's not literally saying, if you get boxed in the face, turn your other cheek. So we go with a surface level understanding, and then it leads to what's I follow God to be a doormat then, which we've never been. It's never the thing in my
I definitely agree. People got to remember as well that the act of turning, are you turning 45, you turning 180, and letting people see the back of your head instead of the front of your face. Sometimes you just got to walk away. Do you get what I mean?
Question to float around, innit? Do you believe that you can make music or like show your faith without making like Christian rap or Christian music?
I think so. I definitely believe God is the reason why I've had success in my career. He's definitely taken me along the way. I've definitely stayed prayed up, and I've always had faith. But like I said earlier, music for me is just an expression. And I don't feel convicted when I say certain things in my music, because that's my outlet. It's like my journal, that's my therapy. So I do think you can have faith and not make Christian music. What do you think? Yes.
My belief is that God has assignments for different people.
Yeah,
and
100%.
I think your journey, like the journey that you have in life, is evidence of what your assignment is. So if I was to be laser focused on me, it was like, I became a Christian when I was in year 8, and I took it mad serious. And my faith stayed with me through uni, through everything. My hardship was being very good friends with people that lived in a way that was directly opposite to me. I had Christian friends, I went to church, I had Christian friends, but there was an element of like my interests, whether it be in rap, hip hop, just the culture, my friends were just my friends, and I had to learn how to be a person of faith. And I kind of felt compelled that I wanted to be an inspiration to them, because in a way, part of me was like, if this God thing is so good for me, they should see it in my life. But that carried into my music, because I thought that my understanding was like, people in the world need hope generally. Just life is hard. So if I want to be true to my faith, that's gonna look like bringing hope where it's needed most, in a way that doesn't create barriers for me, in particularly in my space. So that is fulfilling for me in a way, because it's like, I'm not making Christian rap in that conventional sense, but
You're a Christian
feel like
that's rapping.
I feel like my mission is being achieved in the sense that people that are trying to learn about God are finding hope through what I do. And that feels like my specific assignment versus someone who might make out and out Christian rap, that might be the assignment. Versus someone else who might just be a comedian and there's no faith element at all, but God created them to make people laugh. So they're just being obedient by being funny. That's what I would say.
I totally agree with what you said as well, because it touches base on just being a vessel. You don't know what you're a vessel to, but being obedient to the fact that you're a vessel is just doing your job and fulfilling your purpose. Like, you don't make Christian rap. You're a Christian that raps, but you might inspire someone to make Christian rap that will touch a nation of people that are strong believers of God, but might not follow you because you might not like occupy the same space as them, but you've enabled someone else to create a space for other people. Do you get what I mean? I just feel like you can praise God and have a tight-knit relationship with God without making gospel music. Like Banks said that she doesn't feel the conviction for the stuff that she speaks about in her songs, and I don't think she should.
And
do you get what I mean?
I feel like that as well. I feel like sometimes like the amount of inspiration I've given people, and just in general in life, all different walks of life and different times. And then it's like, I think sometimes I think of my bars and I'm like, bro, like, this bar's a mad thing, this one's a mad thing, this one there. But it's like, then there was one person, he kind of spoke to me about my style, and he was like, no, because it's got humour. And then it's like he started giving me all these different ingredients that made me. And then I realised that the picture is not dark. You know, then once there, it's like, right. And then it's like I've had to understand that what I've given the people is like inspirational, good. It's good for the community, it's good. And I've had to, just understand that myself.
You know what's so crazy? Just as you were talking, I got the maddest flashback, And I was like, even though, because obviously you're a mad borrower, like you're known for just making sound effects and getting a wheel up, like you're hard. But you know what's so crazy? You actually do have a wittiness to your music. I remember when I was in school, I don't know if I was in secondary school, probably, but I was thinking of, do you want to come to my house? Can't be in a long thing in my house, because Mum, she's soon come back to the house. After the quick got cooking it out. What? I was like, he's boring, but it's funny. And you got character. Like you're from the ends and you're comfortable in your skin, but you're funny. It's like, you do bring a light in your music. But it's nuts because until you probably said that, I didn't realise the character you hold. And sometimes you got to look at it deeper. Past the artist being good, what do they actually represent? So I just want to put it out there, like, I just got the flashback
like
and
it's
Afro.
Because people would have felt like they can be more liberated as themselves, or they could embrace that quirky side or embrace that element of who they really are, innit? And it's deeper because it's like, I see it as righteous in the sense that livelihoods and legends of, like even from your impact in the game, other people have gone on to do certain things which they just would not have done had they not seen you. And then when I see it from like a faith angle, I see it as like blessing generations, innit? Because I think it's very important what we do and what we leave, like our effect we have on the planet, like on this earth, innit? I think sometimes we box things in too much, whereas like, if it doesn't sound a certain way, like God can't use it. I think so. And even if, like, from a biblical point of view, there's a popular saying, it's, Paul in the Bible said, in him we live, move and have our being. And basically he was walking through a temple and there was a pagan temple and he picked up a random idol. And on the random idol that he picked up, it said, in him we live, move, have our being. And he looked at everyone and said, this is a pagan poem, but what you guys don't realise, this is actually about God, Yahweh, da-da-da. And I paused, because I like to analyse, and I'm like, hang about, you're telling me he was in a temple that had nothing to do with Christ, nothing to do with God. He picked up a random idol, saw a poem on the idol, took it, remixed it, and said, this is actually about God. And things like that bursted my bubble and made me think more in line of, what you're doing, Bliss, is right. Because you're in a space where you're speaking to people and speaking within culture in a language that's understood rather than creating a language barrier, lines of division. But to balance it, I also believe there are people that would have been raised in church community who are zealous about the faith and figuring out their faith that need the Christian rappers and need the Christian artists in order for them to have their thing. So it's just balance.
Even feel, to feel more comfortable with themselves.
100%.
Around that, yeah.
I think that's probably where I fall in, kind of thing. Because obviously going from a space where it's like, I'm making songs about this batty, this, this girl, this money. Like, and the thing is, I wasn't saying anything that was untrue. Like, the stuff that we was doing, it was mad. Do you know what I mean? And how I spent like 100K on girls. I don't know where the money went.
I just love the badness a bit too much, though.
I hear you.
You're making money like we know done.
Do you know what I mean?
And
for me, at the time, that song for me was like, obviously it popped off, do you know what I mean? And at the time, it was like, raw. I find it funny because everyone's like, raw, like, these lot just jeweled off. These lot doing their thing. In my head, I'm thinking, you guys don't know, I'm empty. But I think for me, again, like, at the time, I think it served its purpose. Do you get what I'm saying? And again, like, the journey that I'm on, obviously, God clearly had a different plan for me. And I'm down to do whatever he needs me to do. And I think I'm finding it's for me. Do you know what I'm saying? It might not be for anybody else to do. But as for me, like, this is definitely something that I'm called to do, because based on the fruit that's come from it, I'm like, raw, I'm seeing the fruit. And going from like being in the pews, looking up at the pastor thinking, oh, this guy, whatever, to being the guy that's up there preaching to people and people like giving their lives to God, and I'm thinking, raw, like, I didn't think I was gonna be here. Do you know what I'm saying? I did not calculate this at all. Do you know what I mean? But I had a genuine experience, and my experience was still a journey. And the more that I'm getting to know God, Yahweh, Jesus, and understand how I am with him and what is my purpose here, it keeps changing, but not knowing that all of that, what do you call it, the residuals, people are actually looking at my residuals like, raw, like, this is proof that he almost didn't make it. Like the time when like I was suicidal, where I was at a bridge and I put my leg over, and this is my first encounter for me to know that God is real. And I put my leg over and my phone rang so, I never felt my phone vibrate like that. Picked up my phone and it's my mom. My mom was like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. She said, where are you? I'm still on the road. She said, God is letting me know you're not okay. Come home.
Yeah, that's deep, yeah. There we go.
And the way I dipped home, I think for me, I didn't calculate none of this at the time, but fast forward like 4 years, I look back and I'm like, hold on. I was on the road where nobody saw me and no one being there, no cars are driving past. For my mom to call me at the time, I'm like, aside from the fact of I can say, oh yeah, this is her instinct, you didn't see me either.
That's the spirit.
And that's when I understood that how God works through people is different. Because she had a different purpose to somebody else, do you get what I'm saying? And through my mum's relationship, I was able to benefit off that.
Saved your life, yeah.
And I said to my mum, thank you for seeking God. Because if you didn't know God, I wouldn't be here.
It's peak.
And I think for me, that was like, where I was like, I want to be that, but like times 100.
Times 100,
because who am I going to save based on how close I am to here?
That's deep.
And obviously, you guys know about the whole prophetic thing. When you get into church and you start saying to someone, hey, the Lord sees you crying last week, Wednesday, and it was a time for them, they start believing again, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he stirs
and
up
again,
their faith.
even in the music, like all the music I'm making, like it's very, very prophetic, and I don't do all just Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I make love songs for my wife, because this is Bible too.
And that's your life.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm
life.
promoting that this is how men should, like, you know, look at their wife and big her up, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, when I look in the Bible, it's giving man rules and all these things, but it works. It works. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think like the work that you guys are doing is amazing, because you guys can bring the people in and then they'll shake hands with you, talk to you and start, something's different about you, what is it? Then you start saying, you know, I'm a Christian, or you might say something about God, and that's when they start clocking on, and you don't know that you're planting seeds. So everyone's doing their job, man. And that seed might be watered by somebody down the road, but you might have been the one who planted the seed.
Yeah.
It's serious, yeah.
Honestly, your story is amazing. I actually felt super emotional listening to you, but it's really a testimony for what God can do and what he's capable of. And I think just answering the question, I guess, from all of us, you're the only person on this table that has gone from making secular music to gospel music. And I think that's amazing, even though I'm still in that world. But ultimately, I do feel like we all have this image of ourselves, of who we think we should be or what a good person is. And that might be a different image for each of us. But the power is in you following what you feel that person should be. Because if you go against that, that's when you feel like you've done wrong. That's when you feel like the conviction. And my conviction might be different from yours. But as long as you follow that image, I think that's the most important. And yeah, it's mad inspiring. It's mad inspiring to hear. So just thank you for sharing.
Nah, appreciate
It's
that, man.
deep.